Welcome back, Crime Salad listeners. This is Crime Salad. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Ricky.
And this week we are covering two cases. They might be related, but they might not be. In October of 2000, two women named Mary Morris were murdered 4 days apart in different suburbs of Houston, Texas. Both were killed in violent encounters, and their bodies were discovered inside their cars. Both of their murders remained unsolved. Although both cases have been investigated separately, there is a lot of debate about whether the murders of two women with the same name were a case of a weird timing, or if they're just too similar to be a coincidence.
So two people, both Mary Morris. What are the chances?
Yeah.
It's kind of a common name, though, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree. Both the first name Mary and the last name Morris are pretty common, right?
Maybe.
Matter of fact, it was one of the top two baby names in the United States from 1918 to 1962. So there are a lot of Marys. Now, first, we're going to cover the murder of Mary Lou Henderson Morris. Mary Lou was 48 years old, and she lived in the Baytown suburb of Houston and worked as a bank loan officer at Chase Bank for 16 years. Mary was described as having a bit of a wild, adventurous streak. She loved riding horses and trying new activities. And in her wildest days, she used to drive demolition derby cars.
Oh, like at the fair.
Yeah,
Dang.
Mary's my girl.
Badass.
Now, October 12, 2000 started as a typical day. Her husband, Jay, walked her out to her car, a Chevy Lumina, around 6 a.m. and waved her off to work.
He's like, I'm going back to bed.
She and Jay Morris had met through the personal ads, in the newspaper where that was the thing to do. And they had only been married for about 5 years, and it was a second marriage for both of them. Now, before this marriage, Mary had been married to Jim Henderson, and together they owned a tow truck business and a wrecking yard.
A wrecking yard? That's kind of ironic because she did demolition derby. She likes to wreck things.
Right? I wonder what came first. Like, were they driving demolition derby cars as a hobby? Or did they have this wrecking yard and they were like, hey, you know what? Let's do a demolition derby.
That's a good point. There used to be a show called Junkyard Wars on Discovery Channel when I was a kid. And they had to, build things out of the junkyard. So maybe they built, this demolition car from their junk.
I love a good demolition derby.
I do, too. It's so redneck.
I can't wait to go see one this summer. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Crack open a Coors Light and enjoy some wreckage.
Now, even though their marriage ended, their split had been relatively amicable, and they remained friendly. Mary and Jim had 2 children, a son who continued living with his dad and a daughter, Marilyn, who lived with Mary until she moved out for college. Marilyn had moved out long before Mary met and married Jay Morris. But everyone got along, and she was glad that her mother found someone who made her happy. Now, just like what we were saying, her husband Jay walked her out to her car around 6 a.m. Nothing was unusual. She drove off toward the bank where she worked, first planning to stop at a gas station she frequently used on the way. But Mary Lou never made it to the bank. Her coworkers knew it would be unlikely for Mary to just not show up at work. And her concerned manager called the house just after 2 p.m., asking to speak with her. Jay answered the phone and told the caller that Mary was at work. Now, the manager hadn't identified themselves, and for some reason didn't inform Jay that Mary was not, in fact, at work. Jay also didn't ask for a name or take a message.
Is it kind of weird that she never disclosed who she was, or the fact even that he never asked who was calling? That's a little weird.
Yeah, it's hard to say what she was thinking at the time. I know working at a bank, I worked at a bank, and everything's very like walking on eggshells because you can never be too sure, or, you know, you don't want to say the wrong thing. Like, I don't know. It seems weird, though.
I don't know. I think it seems weird.
Now, usually Jay and Mary spoke several times throughout the day, but every time Jay called, Mary's work phone went right to voicemail, which is strange. Jay started to feel suspicious between not hearing from her and then that unusual midday call asking for Mary, so he called into the main line at the bank, and that's when he learned Mary had never shown up for work. Worried, Jay called the police, and Marilyn, who was also immediately concerned, since it was so unlike her mom to just not show up for work or tell anyone where she was going or where she was. After arranging a babysitter, Marilyn headed over to her mom's house. And when she got there, the police were already there, taking a report about a missing person from Jay.
Okay. Strange, but...
Now, the police didn't seem overly concerned and thought Mary would turn up eventually. Mary's family knew something wasn't right, so Marilyn and Jay headed out together to retrace Mary's route to work. They stopped at the gas station, where the cashier seemed to remember seeing Mary but couldn't give any details. And when police started their investigation, the security footage had been taped over, and there was no record of Mary using her credit or her bank cards there.
I guess it's not that big of a deal that no one took it serious, being it's her age. Hopefully she'll just show up and some miscommunication or something, but like the footage being taped over that soon, the security footage, that seems a little weird.
Yeah, that is really strange, unless they didn't take the security camera footage seriously, but why even tape it then?
Well, when did they review the footage? Was that like the next day?
It was very close to the time when she was missing.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking, just to make sense of it, maybe it was the next day and they start recording over the previous day or something, but I don't know.
Now, earlier we talked about how Mary's first husband, Marilyn's father, owned a towing and wrecking company. Well, while they were retracing steps, Marilyn's dad called and told her there had been reports of a burnt-out car in a more remote area. He could only provide the cross streets, but Marilyn and Jay decided it was worth checking out independently. Despite the pretty loose location, Jay seemed to be able to find the area, and when they arrived, the police and the fire department were already on the scene. Someone driving through the area on an ATV earlier had stumbled on a car and called 911. Surprisingly, it was the second call police had received about fire and smoke in that area, around 10 a.m. that morning. Some additional calls had come in complaining about visible flames and smoke, but the spot was known as a place where people would go to burn brush and garbage, so it was assumed that this was the case. And so no one was sent out to verify. At this point, it had been hours since Mary was last seen and since the initial fire was reported. The car and its contents were so destroyed, it took first responders some time to even notice that there appeared to be human remains in the passenger seat.
Whoa. Wait, human remains in the passenger seat, though? Not even the driver's seat?
Yeah, isn't that strange? It was such a remote area, but either Mary hadn't driven herself there or she had moved from the driver's seat to the passenger seat once parked. But, yeah.
That's strange.
Marilyn and Jay were able to identify the car as the same make as Mary's, and the license plate confirmed that it was her car. The keys were still inside, and it didn't appear to be a robbery since there were other items of value left behind. All of Mary's jewelry except her wedding band were found, melted in the vehicle. Due to the condition of Mary's remains, she had to be identified using only fragments of her teeth.
Wow, so when they discovered the car, they didn't even know it was Mary, I assume.
Not at first. They just see this burning car. They didn't even know that there was human remains because, remember, the body was in the passenger side.
Seat, yeah. Wow. But everything in the car melted except a wedding band. Okay, so no wedding band. like, I'm guessing because they didn't find it melted or whatever in the car, does that mean that she didn't wear it that day, or are they assuming someone took it off of her? Or maybe she was cheating or something and took it and didn't wear it that day.
That's a good point. You never know.
I mean, she didn't show up for work. What's she doing?
Yeah. But it was strange that they found all of the different valuables except the wedding band.
Also, without a driver. She's in the passenger seat. Did the dude jump out and run?
Okay, so here's where it gets a little confusing. Just bear with me. With no clues about what happened, her devastated family focused on planning her funeral. After it was held on October 16th, Marilyn called the medical examiner's office in Houston to arrange to pick up whatever jewelry and belongings had been recovered. On the phone, Marilyn is assured that the jewelry will be released to the family, but not until her mother's body has been picked up by the funeral home. Marilyn reminded the medical examiner that she had just buried her mother that day, so the jewelry should be ready to collect. But the person she is speaking with is insistent that can't be possible. Mary Morris is still in the morgue. At first, Marilyn panics. On top of everything that has happened, were the wrong remains released? Who was inside the casket that they buried if it wasn't her mother? That was when the story started to come together. Mary Morris was still in the morgue, but not Mary Lou Henderson Morris, a different Mary Morris, who had also been killed in her car the same day of the first Mary Morris's funeral.
What? What a scary moment for the daughter, though.
Yeah, so two different Marys around the same time.
Buried the right one, right?
Yeah.
Like her mom was buried.
Yes.
Okay. Jeez, that's scary.
So the Mary that was in the morgue is Mary McGinnis Morris, another Mary. And she had a much more complicated life. While it seemed like there was a single suspect in Mary Lou Henderson's murder, Mary McGinnis Morris had a few people in her life who potentially wished to harm her and were viable suspects. Mary McGinnis was a 38-year-old nurse practitioner, medical director for Union Carbide, overseeing several of the company's clinics. It was a great job. They gave her a car to drive, and due to the company's size, she could advance her career if she wanted. She relocated to Houston with her young family, a husband, Mike, and her daughter, Katie. Mary McGinnis loved her job and made fast friends with Lori Gemmell. But there were some issues at work, specifically with a temporary employee named Dwayne Young. In the weeks before her death, Mary McGinnis made several complaints about his behavior towards her. Things got increasingly worse, to the point that Mary asked Mike to purchase a gun and teach her how to use it because she felt like she needed to begin to carry something to protect herself. And just days before she was murdered, Mary McGinnis found a disturbing note written on a desktop calendar, which was the final straw. Now, the next day, her supervisors asked her to stay at home so that Dwayne Young could be dismissed. Dwayne returned to the office later that day to ensure his time card was signed, despite his terminated employment. Lori Gemmell says Dwayne made a big scene and was escorted off the property. She said he was banging on the windows and asking for Mary.
Wow, this guy seems like he really had it out for Mary.
Now, it's important to note that Dwayne Young has been very publicly outspoken about this case over the last 23 years. He's given countless interviews and was very active in some internet chat rooms and forums dedicated to the Mary Morris murders. And his version differs slightly. He claims he and Mary were friends and only stopped working at Union Carbide because he was a temporary employee whose contract ended. He claims they made it sound much more sinister than it was. He did bang on the window just to get Mary's attention, the way anyone outside would knock on a door or a window to get the attention of someone else inside. It's also been obvious through the years that Mary's friends, Lori Gemmell and Dwayne Young, who also work together, do not like each other, and both have made accusations about the other being involved with Mary McGinnis' death.
But why are you banging on the window? That's so suspicious. Like, knock on the door or do something like a civilized human.
Yeah, and if the hospital didn't see that there was a problem, why would they terminate him? You think that they would talk to him or,
Well, I'm glad she did talk to HR, though, because we started talking about how she wanted to get a gun and everything, and I'm like, why didn't she just talk to HR? So it's good that she kind of did both, but it's also sad that she felt like she needed a gun even after, reporting him.
Yeah, like what was really going on?
It's scary.
Now, Mary and Mike's marriage was rocky. Things got more complicated when they moved to Houston, and Mike could not find work. They argued a lot, and he was suspicious that she was having an affair. Something Mary's sister Stephanie Lohr says Mary confirmed. She said, Mary told me she had fallen in love with someone else but would not leave Mike. She was trying to make her marriage work, but after they had gone through 3 or 4 marriage counselors, it had gotten to the point where she would have asked him for a divorce.
Okay, so maybe we have suspect number 2.
Maybe. Now, we're going to talk about the circumstances surrounding Mary McGinnis' death. On October 15, 2000, Mary planned to run some Sunday afternoon errands. She met up with Lori Gemmell to give her a flu shot, and she planned to stop at the post office, the grocery store, and drugstore before heading home. However, shortly after leaving Lori, Mary McGinnis called from her cell phone to say that she thought that she was being followed by someone. She told Lori that she was so uncomfortable that she would abandon her errands and come home. 15 minutes later, Mary McGinnis made a frantic call to 911. Still, instead of getting the chance to request help, the recording captures the sound of struggling and eventually Mary being shot.
Wow.
Detective Wayne Coleman of the Harris County Sheriff's Department has said the recording is too horrific to release, saying, "We're not releasing the content of the tape. It covers the attack that happened to Mary, and anybody that's ever heard that tape has just had their blood chilled listening to it. It's a very chilling, disturbing call."
Oh, so they never released it to the public.
Yeah. The Citizen Detective podcast also did an episode on the 2 Mary Morris murders, which included interviews with both daughters, Marilyn and Katie. On that podcast, Katie discloses that she is among the few people who have heard the tape and shares disturbing details. According to Katie, whoever attacked Mary had a remote controlling the car's locks. Katie says that Mary can be heard repeatedly locking her car door while the click of the remote unlocks the car, continually unlocking the car each time.
Holy cow. That's scary. So this was all caught on 911 too.
Yeah. So when they say their blood chilled listening to this call, you can only imagine.
Oh my God, how frantic would she be?
That's one of the creepiest things I have ever heard of, and I hope to never even hear that chilling call.
Yeah, wow.
Now remember, Mary drove a company car, so who knows who had access to that second remote? Could it be her husband, Dwayne Young, anyone else from the Union Carbine offices, or even if it was just some generic remote that someone had programmed? We can guess that since no one has been arrested, Mary couldn't identify or see who it was.
So whoever had that remote, they planned this. They had access to that remote or whatever. Like, this is a targeted attack.
Yeah, like they knew that remote controlled her car. Because why would they just try it out and, well, it might not work, but... Now, late into the evening of October 15th, Mike calls the police and reports Mary missing since she hadn't returned home after her errands. The following day, Mary's car was found in a remote area and she was inside. An autopsy determined Mary McGinnis had been beaten to death before being shot with her gun, the one registered to Mike that he says that she requested for protection. So whoever had killed her had tried to make the scene look like a suicide, but it was obvious that this wasn't the case.
But we also had this evidence of her frantically trying to lock the doors as they're being unlocked.
The police call, yeah.
Right, and who would honestly have a key? Maybe it's an extra key. Would it be the husband? Would it be someone from the work site? Or is it some technology that we don't even know of, right? Like some other way to unlock a door.
Possibly. Now, investigators found blood on the passenger door, which was left open, and the keys were outside of the car. Otherwise, there was very little physical evidence, and the gun only had Mary and Mike's fingerprints.
Okay, that's suspicious.
The obvious suspect right away was Dwayne. But investigators started to suspect Mike was hiding something after he asked to have a lawyer present during questioning and refused to take a polygraph. Although his alibi was that he was at the movies with Katie, he refused to let investigators question Katie, who was a minor at the time.
Okay, so obviously, if you listen to true crime, you know that you should probably ask for a lawyer and not take a polygraph. But this is the husband, right? Like, your best interest would just be finding out what happened to your wife or finding the answer somehow.
Yeah, I think this can kind of go like one way. It can kind of go both ways because it's like this father, he's trying to protect his daughter. You know, he's protecting himself too. Like, he wants to get a lawyer. He doesn't want to take a polygraph because he doesn't want to look like he did anything. But also, it could kind of be suspicious. It's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, once the police started to hear about Mike and Mary's marital troubles, combined with Mike doing all the things you're supposed to do if you've ever watched an episode of Law & Order, investigators turned their attention to Mike. One detective said, "Innocent people don't ask for lawyers."
Yes and no.
I feel like I would because that's just what you do.
Well, it's whatever's in your head, you know? Like, if you watch something that said you should always ask for your lawyer.
Or if you listen to Crime Salad episodes.
Right.
Now, there has been a lot of speculation about the case of the two Mary Morris murders. A standard theory is a hitman killed the wrong Mary Morris. Some of the evidence used to support this theory is that both of the Marys' wedding rings were missing. There's a belief that a hitman might take a wedding ring as proof of the job being done. There are a couple of flaws with the missing ring idea, though. In Mary Lou Henderson's case, many of her belongings, including jewelry, melted in the fire, so it's difficult to know if it was taken, simply fell off and was misplaced, or even if it just melted into other metals and became unrecognizable. However, her ring reappeared in Mary McGinnis's case, and Katie was seen wearing it. So some people use this as proof that the ring was returned to Mike, but he and Katie stated that it was at home, and investigators assumed it had been taken when Mary McGinnis simply wasn't wearing it.
I mean, that makes sense. They had a rocky relationship. Maybe they just decided not to wear their rings, and that's how she got it.
Very possible. Another thing that came up while researching this case is a mysterious 4-minute phone call Mike made to Mary McGinnis' cell phone. Phone records show that the call occurred 2 hours after Mary McGinnis' call to 911. Mike says that he was calling Mary because he was worried, and he let the phone ring as long as he could, hoping she would pick up. Investigators say that call would only show up on Mary's cell phone bill if the call had been completed. They believe that call may support the hitman theory, that Mike called the phone knowing the hitman would answer to confirm if her murder had been completed.
I mean, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Now, Marilyn and Katie, the daughters of each Mary Morris, have formed a unique friendship over the years. Both women are determined to find out who is responsible for their mother's murders, whether the deaths are connected or not. Now, the public opinion leans heavily towards the careless hitman theory, but most investigators are skeptical that the murders are anything but a coincidence. Both families struggle with what to believe. They believe that there are too many similarities between the women and the circumstances of each murder. Marilyn's relationship with her stepfather deteriorated quickly after Mary Lou Henderson Morris's death, and she became more suspicious of his potential involvement. Katie Morris seemed confident that her father, Mike, was not involved.
See, my only problem with that, though, is she only seen what she wants to see or what she wants to believe. I feel you could be blind to those types of things. You don't want your father to be to blame.
You don't want him to be the one who killed his wife.
Right.
Your mom. Yeah, that would be hard to take in.
Definitely.
It'd be hard to believe. Lori Gemmell raises some questions. Some of her reports about Dwayne's behavior seem to be rumor versus fact, and the final hours of Mary McGinnis's life are all based on Lori Gemmell's private conversations with her and are challenging to confirm. Then there's also Dwayne Young. Both families seem suspicious of him and have stated that it looks like he seeks out opportunities to insert himself into the case. He has said it's all in an attempt to clear his name, but neither Morris family seems to believe that is 100% accurate. In 2023, a movie based on Mary Morris murders was released called Maggie Moore, with an S in parentheses, insinuating that there's more than one. And it starred John Hamm and Tina Fey. Katie and Marilyn conducted several media interviews around the release. They were upset about the movie that neither family had been contacted beforehand. In one of these interviews with Entertainment Weekly, both of them expressed that they were worried about their safety with the release of the movie. Katie said, "There is a person of interest in the murder of my mother who has repeatedly tried to contact me over the years, despite a permanent injunction. This individual has also contacted peers from my school, distant family members, employers, my ex, and my husband. This person has reached out to my family as recently as February regarding the case and alluded to the fact that he was close. This was cause for concern, and it was documented with multiple authorities as well as the attorney that assisted with the original injunction."
But Hollywood's like, hey, money, though.
This would make a good movie. Marilyn also expressed some fear of the same person of interest. She said, "I have serious fears that this film will make the person even more infuriated and make us a bigger target for him. That person of interest has interjected themselves into my life and caused issues for me as well, when they should have nothing to do with my mom's case. Both of us really fear that this is going to fuel his fire, and he's going to start doing things that are even more scary than the things that he's already done." Although neither specifically mentioned Dwayne Young in that Entertainment Weekly article, they have both commented frequently about being suspicious of him and worried about his persistent attempts to contact both families.
So, what do you think, though? I mean, which theory holds the most weight? It's either a total coincidence, or like the careless hitman, or the angry coworker, or something different. I have no idea.
I kind of feel like it's all of that. Like, I feel like it is a hitman, the husband, and the guy from work.
Do you think they're all intertwined somehow?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. Conspiracy theorist. I don't know. It is ironic, though, that the coworker is still active, making himself heard in the news and every opportunity that he can. With 25 years after it happened? Like,
yeah.
Why are you involved still?
Yeah, it seems weird. But then Mike and Mary's relationship was rocky. What was going on there?
Right. There's definitely a motive there.
And the gun just seems so strange.
Right. So is this a cold case or is this an open case? Where are we standing with this?
I would say that this case hasn't gone completely cold, but at this point they're just still waiting and looking into the case.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, what can they really go on right now? Like, nobody's come forward.
Right.
All that they have is, like, circumstantial evidence.
I mean, this is one of those cases, though, that if anyone knows anything, make it be known, right? I mean, the littlest information can actually just spark some energy into this case. Get it solved. Get some closure for the families.
Yeah, 100%. But the wedding ring, to me, is a little more suspicious because it's like,
Well, there's a couple different things. One, they did have marriage problems, so maybe, they took the wedding ring off, or she didn't want to wear it for whatever it represents or whatever. But it also makes sense with the whole hitman thing to take the wedding ring for evidence, right? Okay. Job done.
Interesting case.
It is. I hope we find out.
Yeah. I really hope that there's justice for both of the Marys because this is just a horrible case all around. And I feel like they are connected somehow.
Yeah. It is nice, though, that the daughters ended up becoming friends, or at least having each other. I mean, that's something that they're both going through, and they can, have each other there and bounce ideas and all of that. The support.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
It's an unlikely friendship.
Well, that's this week's story. And if you liked this week's story and you love Crime Salad, let us know. Let us know in the reviews if you listen with Apple Podcast, because that really helps boost us up a little.
Hey, if you don't tell us, we'll never know.
And if you don't like us,
don't tell us.
Sorry.
Just don't listen. If you don't like us, don't listen.
You know what's so weird about, like, bad reviews is, like, they don't really hurt my feelings anymore like they used to. Like, they used to hurt my feelings, but now I'm like, a lot of the times they're quite laughable. Like,
right. I don't know. I flip the screen off every once in a while. I'll read a review and I'm like, throw up the middle finger. I'm like, screw you. Don't listen then.
But I don't even care. Like, I just enjoy doing what I'm doing. And if someone doesn't like it, then they don't matter to me.
I totally agree.
Those that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter.
Damn. Poet.
Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss said that.
Yeah.
Wow. Scholar and a saint. All right. See you guys next week.
Bye.